Hello, writer friends. Welcome to Let's Write Scripts. I'm Micah Crady, a WJ screenwriter and the head of writing at Arc Studio, the best screenwriting app in the world. And there's a link in the description to check out Arc Studio if you wanted to use it to write your scripts, which is what I do. Today on Let's Write Scripts, we are going to do 3 timed writing sprints where you can make progress on your writing project or whatever else it is that you're working on today. But usually it's scripts. And during the breaks between the sprints, we will be talking about screenwriting. I'll be questions. We're going to be writing. We'll be talking about screener. We'll be answering questions. It's going to be a lot of fun. But before we get into it, as always, I want to know where are you and what are you writing today? Love seeing people from all over the world tuning into Let's Write Scripts. So where are you and what are you working on today? What project? Where are you in the project? Let us know. Let everyone know so we kind of see what everyone's working on. Really helps give that communal feel. And then also we always like to start with a discussion question, kind of a third question to get the brains going, because maybe you just had lunch, maybe you were at work, you're doing schoolwork, whatever it was. You might not actually be in like a creative mode yet. So today's discussion question is, what does tools not rules mean to you? And specifically in a screenwriting context, what does tools not rules mean to you? And I'll give you even more say in terms of screenwriting advice. Because there's lots of screenwriting advice out there. I give screenwriting advice. And there's this phrase called tools, not rules, which I'll talk about a little bit, but that I think can be very helpful. So I want to know that. And if you're feeling it, please like this video, hit subscribe, turn notifications on, all that good YouTube engagement stuff. And during the second break, of course, I'm going to show the sandwich of the week. Every week, I like to show the sandwich of the week. And if you're wondering what that is, you have to wait till the second break. But don't worry, it'll be worth it. If you like sandwiches. If you don't like sandwiches, then it won't be worth it at all. It'll be a complete waste of time, but the rest of us like it. So to answer these 3 questions myself, I am in Los Angeles, where it's suddenly winter. We actually on yesterday, we had a big rainstorm come through. Which is great because we've been, needing rain a lot. Last year, we didn't get rain like in the fall and early winter, which is why we had those really bad fires. Well, part of the reason why we had those really bad fires. So it's encouraging that we had some rain, although I had some like stuff fall over. I don't know if you guys remember, I had the hummingbird nest in my backyard. The hummingbirds are no longer there. They hatched and flew away. The nest was abandoned, but the tree thing that they were nested in like fell over. So we're kind of figuring out what to do with that. But anyways, the rain, it was otherwise great to get rain. What am I working on today? I am working on this kind of new idea. It's a new feature and kind of in a brainstorming phase. For this one, I'm just kind of like trying to be very not rushed with it. I don't know. It's an idea that I just very much am trying to let germinate and figure out the little pieces of it before I kind of like really try to give it a structure and all these kind of things. So I'm really having fun kind of playing with this idea. Zoe, welcome, working on a beat sheet. Christian, same as Zoe, working on filling out outline and a beat sheet and a scriptment. Anthea, hey, welcome, Anthea. Okay, answering our question, which was what are tools dot rules? Tools for me indicate using what you I feel like there's a typo in there. Tools for me indicates using what you know me to be the most creative in your storytelling and only break rules when you know what you're breaking. Conscious choices. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. There's that old adage that like in order to break the rules, you need to know the rules. And so that's kind of a helpful way oftentimes of looking at screenwriting, because a lot of times I will say that when people are giving screenwriting advice, they're kind of giving it for the bulk of the advice is for a certain kind of movie that has a traditional narrative, oftentimes like a hero's journey kind of a thing. But not every movie is like that. Like there are a lot of different kinds of stories that you can tell. And kind of understanding sometimes those traditional narratives can really help you when you want to break those rules, because you're doing it, like you said, making a conscious choice. You like know why you're making the choice and kind of like for what reason. So that's cool. I'll always love your perspective, Anthea. Nexus Studios, love and sandwiches are supreme. Yes, I'm excited to share the sandwich of the week later. John in New Jersey is editing an old screenplay. Anthony, you've been traveling in Italy. Fantastic. Finishing up interview questions for a journal in Delaware. Well, so glad you're here. Pam, welcome back from New Mexico. Switching back to your feature-length rom-com using tool. Okay, so tools, not rules. Use tools to help you, but allow yourself to find whatever works for you and don't limit yourself to anyone's rules. Awesome. Good. I love that perspective on tools, not rules. Precious from Nigeria, currently working on a feature script for a rom-com. So glad you're here, Precious. Hope you get some great writing done. And Anthea, no worries about the typo, still on European time, off and on. That's my excuse. You know, it's so funny. It's like sometimes if I'm like making videos or something, I'll be like typing on screen, and it's just whenever you're kind of doing it like under some form of pressure, it's just like typos galore. Lorraine in California working on adapting a story I wrote to a series pilot. Awesome. So glad you're here. This will be great. We're gonna have a great show today. Other people see that we have more viewers here. Feel free to chime in. Let me know where you are. What are you working on today? You don't have to answer the discussion question if you don't want to, but just like say what's up. Love to see everyone. Yeah. So for me, this idea. Oh wait, Diamond here. Just here to keep your fellow writers companies. Diamond is not expecting any productivity, just bringing the vibes. Fantastic. Love that, Diamond. Maybe you will, though, get some good writing done. But, you know, the vibes are appreciated. So tools, not rules. This is a phrase that I have been thinking about because there's a lot of screenwriting advice, you know, on the internet. And some of it's from me. You know, I give advice on this. I make videos, do blog posts, and there's lots of people who give screenwriting advice. And if you're on the other side of that advice and you're getting this advice, sometimes it can be confusing. It can be contradictory. Like this person's saying this person's saying that, or like not applicable. And you're like, wait, this doesn't really make sense in the context of what I'm writing. Does that mean what I'm doing is wrong? Because this rule that I'm being told by like a professional or an expert or whatever isn't like working for me. You know, should I change what I'm writing? And so tools, not rules is a phrase that basically can mean that when you get screenwriting advice, when you hear screenwriting advice, when you read it, think of what you're learning as a tool for you to use, not a rule that you have to follow. So the thing about tools is that they're only appropriate in the right context, right? If you're hammering in a nail, you get a hammer. You don't get a screwdriver. I mean, you can sometimes, like there are actually been times in life where I didn't have a hammer and I tried to use the back of a screwdriver. Didn't work very well. So if you are out there and you're like getting advice and you're like, oh, Micah just said something that doesn't seem to apply to me, or like that seems a little different, or I don't know. First off, you can disagree with it and you can use it like when it works for you. But another thing that is really helpful is when you think of it as a tool, not a rule, is like a rule is just oftentimes just like a maxim. It's a law. You just kind of like take it and you're like, okay, just don't do that. But I like to think that when you're thinking of tools, think about the why. I mean, you can do that for a rule anyways, but like what I'm saying is that it's important when you get advice to think about the why of the advice. The why often you can get more from than the rule or the advice itself. Like, what is this accomplishing? What problems is this solving? You know, if I did this, what impact does that have on, if I follow this advice, what impact does that have on my character, on my scene, on my structure for the story? You know, all those kind of things. So thinking about like the why behind these things, it can be really helpful. So yeah, that's just a little thought I wanted to share with you guys about tools, not rules. Sheila in Chicago, working on Eds from Good Feedback. Oh, fantastic. Edouard in France, working on a short film script. Love it. We got people. We got Nigeria in the house. We got France in the house. Was there any other international people? If anyone else in internationally chime in, I love it. I love the fact that also sometimes people are like staying up late or up early to write, and that's just like really cool. You find the times, you know, that you can carve out of your schedule. Some people are night owls. I'm not really a night owl. I'm more of a morning person. But I love that you all are here today. Oh, Zoe in South Africa, Nexus in Britain. Look at that. See, this is great. We got a lot of people around the world. Time zone wise, we probably don't have people in Asia. I feel like that would be difficult right now. But I could be wrong. Anyways, so all right, if this is your first time, I'll just kind of briefly explain how this works. We're going to do some writing sprints, timed writing sprints. Maybe some of you are familiar with like the Pomodoro method or these different kind of timed work things where it's like you do concentrated work for a set period of time. And it can be very helpful to focus because you know there's a break coming at the end of it. You know, like, okay, I'm just going to work for 15 minutes, for 25 minutes, and I can just focus and lock in for that time because I'm going to get a little break afterwards. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with a 15-minute sprint. I'll put a timer up on the screen. It's going to count down. I'm going to mute myself. I'll shrink over. There'll just be a little box over on the side. And I'll play some vibey music. And I love that people tend to love the music, particularly the music in the second writing sprint. People are always like, this is great. And it's just like royalty-free music I found online that's like free. But it's just very vibey and it really helps get you in the creative group. So we're going to do that. And then during the writing sprint, they're unprompted. So because we're all on different projects, we're on different parts, kind of the process. So it's just kind of really like whatever it is that you need to do. And if you're starting a new project, maybe you're just free writing about a new idea. If you don't have something to write yet, free write about a new idea. Oh, hey, we do have someone in Asia, South Korea in the house. Fantastic. All right. I love it. Look at that. We're just spanning the globe. That makes me happy. I'm sorry. I'm just going to take a moment to be happy. So yeah, we're going to jump into the first writing sprint right now. And that's going to be the 15-minute writing sprint. And that is just kind of like a warm-up sprint. So I like to think of it as like, there's a low bar in terms of you're like, oh man, like I like don't worry about like writing a lot of words or making a ton of progress. Oftentimes in the warm-up sprint, you're free writing. You're reading back over, what you were working on last time and just kind of like what were you thinking about, trying to get back in that creative mindset. It's a transitional period, right? From whatever you were doing before this to getting into the writing zone. So like just like don't low pressure. It's a warm-up sprint. So right now we're going to get started. I'm going to play some music. I'm going to put 15 minutes up on the clock myself. I'm going to shrink myself over to the corner, but don't worry, I won't stay small. It's not permanent. I'm going to come back to full size. Yeah, so 15 minutes on the clock. What do you guys feel? Let's do it. Let's get into it. Here we go. All right. And I will slowly bring us out of this first writing sprint calmly, so as not to freak anyone out who was lost in the creative groove. But if you joined during that writing sprint, this is Let's Write Scripts, brought to you by Arc Studio Screenwriting Software, the screenwriting app that I use, and you can use to start writing your scripts for free. You can Google Arc Studio Pro or click on the link in the description. For everyone that was here for that writing sprint, I want to know, how did it go? How is the writing feeling today? How are we feeling creatively? As ever, are the muses with us? Are they somewhere else? Were they stuck are they doom scrolling perhaps somewhere, stuck on their phones instead of doing their job and assisting you in your creative endeavors? But let me know. Or was it great? Was it going well? Were they giving you a back rub? Were they like motivating you, cheering you on? I want to know how your writing went during that sprint. And if you were struggling, is there anything in particular that you were dealing with? Any specific issues you're trying to solve? Any questions you have about screenwriting? Let me know. Ask your questions in the chat. I love answering screenwriting questions, trying to help out. So again, it can be specific things in your project right now, or just general kind of questions about the craft of screenwriting. Get in the chat. Let me know. We did have some people join. I see Paula, I see Denise, I see Brian, I see Autumn Storyteller. So glad you all are here. I know, Autumn, you just joined, didn't get to write anything, but don't worry, we got more sprints to come. So you're going to get some more writing. Pamela, doom scrolling, love it. Pamela, were your muses doom scrolling? Let me know. Paula, it was good, motivating, feeling about it. Lorraine, it's going well. So glad. There was something earlier that, Paula said when she said hi from Northern Virginia, I learned a new word today, scriptment. I think this is a good thing to highlight because not everyone, maybe a lot of people don't know what a scriptment is, because it's kind of a little bit of a made up word. But again, all words are made up words. So scriptment is a portmanteau of two words. The first one you'll probably be able to guess is script, and the second one is treatment. And so a scriptment is basically just like, at least from my understanding, who mentioned they were working on a scriptment earlier? It was was up near the top. Christian, you use Scriptment. I'm kind of curious for your definition of the word, because that's another thing about screenwriting. Also, by the way, is that like oftentimes people don't even have the same definitions for things. But Scriptment is basically like a really detailed outline. At least my understanding of it is that it's like a hybrid between a script and a treatment. So it's like a very generally detailed outline. You'll have some like dialogue in there too, but it's not like an actual screenplay. Yeah, there we go. Autumn Storyteller, think about adding new characters because I'm getting bored of writing the same characters. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, you can totally do that. But just think about like what kind of problems can that new character create or solve, right? What can they do? Because there's a thing about you can think of, if you have your main characters and then the level below them, oftentimes people call those minor characters, but I like thinking of them as supporting characters, right? Because they're there to do a job. They're there to support your story. So can they be allies? Can they be antagonists? Can they be enemies? Can they cause confusion? Can they cause a love triangle? Can they cause, there's all sorts of a rivalry. There's so many things. So like, what can that third person do? Lorraine, maybe you already said it's going well. Fantastic. Craig was saying, I just finished the first draft. It's hard to pick up a new project, even when I have an idea. How do you transition to new projects after you finish or have a first draft done? So you have a first draft. So you're not done with let's call them project A and project B. So project A, you're still working on. Oftentimes I have two projects going on, an A project and a B project. And it's kind of like project A is, 80 to 90% of my effort. And project B is for these moments when like I finished a draft and I'm, either need some space from it or I'm waiting to get notes back from people or something like that. And honestly, I like to have it where they're just kind of at different points. Like project A, you finish a first draft. So if you're trying to work on something else, like just try something very different from what you were doing. Like just like try free writing, brainstorming, kind of doing like rudimentary kind of work. So you're sort of like giving your brain a different kind of problem to solve than the one that you were just doing. Like oftentimes I find if I'm like revising a script on one or something, and then I jump to doing that on another one, it's like my brain, it's like, that's too close, because you still want, like, if it's a first draft, you're not done with project A, so like, again, this is all just me. I mean, people have different writing styles. I'm just kind of giving my perspective on this. But like, try to avoid like a grass is greener situation where like you finish the first draft and now you're just going to go do something else. Like, try to keep it maybe low level on the next project so that you can then go back, because you still need to finish your first one, right? Like that's the most important thing, is like finishing that one. So hopefully that helps. Kelly joined late, ready for sprint 2. John was pruning dialogue, right? Too many words. I mean, hey, editing is real, and editing is part of the process. I feel like a lot of anxiety and problems in early drafts can be avoided when you just kind of keep in mind that like, this isn't set in stone. Like, we're not carving our scripts in, literally with chisels into stone tablets here. We're not, it's these are all you're typing on a computer. Like, so everything can be edited. So like, yeah, that's great. Don't worry, too many words. Brian, doing great writing today. Fantastic. Precious went, well, want to change your opening scene, and you finally did it. Boom, check that goal. You know what you should do? Even if you haven't done it yet, write that on a to-do list, change opening scene, just so you can check it off, so you can get that process. I asked earlier what Christian, who mentioned he was working on a scriptment, what his definition of it was, and he says, what I'm doing is filling out the outline with bits of dialogue, setting, world building, mood, some action. Yeah, exactly. That sounds kind of similar to my understanding of what a scriptment is like taking this outline and then kind of enriching it more, making it more like a script. Fantastic. Anthea's done a scriptment. It's what my colleague and I used to plug into the actual script, use as a template. Not sure I recommend doing it though. Yeah, I mean, different styles for different people. For me, I don't do scriptments. My outlines tend not to be that detailed. They're more beats, kind of story things I want to hit. But like, I don't know, some people really find it really helpful to have that level of detail to work off of. Awesome. All right. I love it. So quick announcement. Just, next week, we do this every week. If you're new and you want to show up, or I also, by the way, if you're an Arc Studio user, I send out emails sometimes, but I haven't been sending them out every week. So, you can always check our YouTube channel, but basically every Wednesday we do this. So next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, show up, be here. You can RSVP if you would like, so you can put on your calendar and stuff at the link in the description. You can just show up at the @Arc Studio Screenwriting channel. You can turn on notifications, again, subscribe, like, all that kind of stuff. But I'm loving it. I'm loving the vibe today. For my writing, actually, it went pretty well in that first one. I am doing sort of like very early, just kind of like lots of just kind of dumping notes, into a document, just like free writing a lot of different things. And in that sprint, I kind of had an idea that would take the story in a little different direction. And I think it might be wrong, but I'm still going to explore it because I think that can be very helpful. And there's another thing that we were talking about tools, not rules, as one of the phrases you'll hear kind of sometimes in screenwriting. Another one you'll hear is just try it, which basically means like you're talking with another writer and you're like, oh, I have this idea of something I could do. Sometimes people will say, I don't know, or blah, blah, blah. But oftentimes someone will say, try it. And because a lot of writing is you just kind of have to see if it works. And you can kind of understand certain things about story and characters and to give yourself a better idea if things are going to work or not. But oftentimes you don't know. And oftentimes, even if you go down a rabbit path, especially early in the process, you can find things along the way that are helpful. So I guess that'd be something I would just say is like, sometimes you just need to try it and figure out, like, does that work? And if it doesn't, all right, maybe you learn something. Maybe there was one thing on that path that you can use, but like sometimes, you just need to try it. All right. We are going to jump now into the second writing sprint. So this is the 25-minute writing sprint. It's the meat of the sandwich. It's the Goldilocks sprint. You're warmed up, but you're not yet tired. Oftentimes I find the best creative work that I do is in this middle sprint. And I feel like a lot of people feel that way. So yeah, we're just going to jump back into it. I'm going to put 25 minutes up on the clock, play some even groovier, vibier writing music. And at the end of that break, we'll come back together. If you have more questions, I'll answer those questions. We'll chat about it. I will show the sandwich of the week. Yeah, it's going to be great, but I feel like I'm talking too much. We're here to write. Let's do it. So we are going to get back into it. I'm going to play this music. I'm going to put 25 minutes on the clock, and don't look at your phones. Don't doom scroll, you or your muses, and let's just kind of lock in, because you've come here, you've set this time aside for your writing. So really give yourself the present of taking advantage of it. So here we go. 25 minutes on the clock. Let's do it. All right, that brings us to the end of the 25-minute writing sprint. The Goldilocks writing sprint. My favorite of all the writing sprints, because I get tired in the last one and I'm distracted in the first one. But the middle one, chef's kiss. It is just right. Welcome to anyone who joined during that writing sprint. This is Let's Write Scripts, brought to you by Arc Studio Screenwriting. You can start writing your script for free with Arc Studio. There's a link in the description, or you can Google Arc Studio Pro. That's what I use. It's great. I'm Micah Crowdy, head of writing at Arc Studio and a WJ screenwriter, and I'm so happy that you are here. If you are doing that last writing sprint, I want to know how it went. Did the muses show up? Did they abandon you? How was your writing? Is there anything in particular that you're struggling with? Any particular questions that you have that you want to ask me? It could be specifically about what you're writing right now, something maybe you're trying to wrap your head around, some problem you're having, some problem you're trying to solve, or like a more general question about screenwriting. Get in the chat and let me know, and I would love to discuss it. And then pretty soon I'll also show the sandwich of the week. Just see a question here from William Poole. I found myself using parenthetical for about half my dialogue lines. There are passages or 5-6 lines in which every single one has a parenthetical. Is this overuse or just a writing choice? Well, look, everything's a writing choice. I would say that sounds like a lot to me. I would be curious just like what kind of things you're putting in the parenthetical. Are they emotional things? Are they like directions to the actor of how to say the line? Are they actions that you're trying to have them do as they say the line? Do you find yourself using the same kinds of things? Or are they all kind of different things? Generally, it's hard because I have people have asked, like, how many parentheticals should you use? And it's like I really hesitate to put a number on it, because then people are like, you're checking and you're like, oh, I have too many or something. I would say, though, that if you have like half your dialogue lines, I would say there could be a couple things happening there. One, you're not using your action lines perhaps appropriately. Is there information that you can be using in your action lines? Two, are you not trusting that the intention of your dialogue is clear? Because often, if you're saying kind of how they're going to say the line or something, like it might betray a lack of confidence in your writing, I would say. So be like, are they necessary, or are you kind of just saying things that are obvious, in terms of the dialogue? Or is it a symptom that your dialogue isn't specific enough? Like if you're saying like sarcastically every time or something like that, can you get that across through, the word choice, how they speak, the words, that they use, the actual dialogue versus the using a parenthetical to say it. So this is me just kind of like in the abstract, kind of trying to, diagnose and maybe get some suggestions, because there are a lot of different things that it could be. But I would say that that's kind of would be my thinking on it. If I looked at a page and like kind of everything had a parenthetical, look, some people do use more parentheticals than others. And so that's not like, there are stylistic choices there. But to the degree that you're saying it, it kind of feels like you're trying to use parentheticals perhaps because some other aspect of the script isn't doing its job. And so you're trying to use the parentheticals kind of to compensate for that. So I would think about that, kind of the things I said. Am I trying to do too many actions? Am I kind of trying to direct the actor a lot? Am I trying, like, what am I trying to do? And are there better ways, that I can do it? And some of them you might just find are just completely unnecessary. They might not need to be there at all. So hopefully I know that was kind of different things, because again, I'm out here on the abstract, but hopefully that could change. Precious is struggling to move the plot forward. I mean, look, sometimes that happens. It's always helpful just to think about like, what does your character want and what are they going to do to try to get that? What kind of complications are going to arise? How can they get in their own way? What kind of complications are they going to cause themselves? When stringing together different story beats, it's helpful to think about the phrases "but" and "therefore." this happens, but something else happens causing this other thing to happen. So some things are internally, some things are happening externally. For dialogue, have your nieces, nephews, kiddos read it if appropriate content. I did that and it was a wake-up call. What was that in response to, Paula? Or just when I was talking about the dialogue, maybe with the talking about the parentheticals. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic, especially if you're like targeting a younger audience. It's great to get a variety of perspective on that. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to show the sandwich of the week now. If you have more questions, please get them into the chat now before we do the last sprint. Oh, actually, sorry, what Sheila was saying here. Received feedback that some aspects came across in an episodic way. Sheila, remind me, what were you working on? Is this a feature? I'm trying to like scroll back. Can't remember. I think I need a little more context. Received feedback that some aspects came across in an episodic way. Helpful hints to edit appropriately. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly. I think I need a little more context. In exactly what they mean. I wish I could give it like a general kind of advice on it feeling episodic. But I'm struggling here. Sorry, Sheila. If anyone else has any thoughts on this, feel free to jump into the chat and help me out because I'm falling on my face here a little bit. Receive feedback that some aspects came across in an episodic way. I mean, maybe if it was just like in terms of like the sequence of events, I don't know. I might have some thoughts on this later. I need to like let mull over this. Precious, in your opinion, what scene must the inciting incident happen? I don't think the inciting incident must happen. I would say this kind of goes to the tools, not rules things we kind of talked about earlier. There is no must for when the inciting incident must happen. As a general rule, early, there are stories where like literally the inciting incident actually happened before the story starts. There are stories where it's the opening scene. There are stories where it's, page 10 or 15. Like there is no must, right? But just like in general, earlier, is better. Oftentimes, like the classical kind of structure is, you have the normal world where you have your protagonist and you have enough time to sort of establish them as what their normal is. And like oftentimes that normal, like the status quo is like, okay, but it's not perfect. It's not great. There's some sort of thing that they're maybe not dealing with. And then once that's established, then you hit with the inciting incident that changes things. So, very frequently it will happen, 10, 15, 20 pages into a script. But again, it's going to depend on like what your script is, but generally like kind of established normal as a general rule and however long that takes. And then inciting incident, changes things. All right, here is the sandwich of the week. And if you're new, every week I show the sandwich of the week, which is just the best looking and perhaps tastiest sandwich that I personally made and ate. And yes, I do eat all my sandwiches. This is not just, social content where like I throw it away. These are all practical sandwiches, let's just say. So this one is a salmon sandwich that was leftovers. We had salmon for dinner the night before. Did air fryer salmon, which is one of my like go-tos. It's just like crispy and juicy, and I love. You get like a good, decent piece of salmon. It's so good. This is salmon on rosemary polenta bread, which is also delicious. There's some Colby Jack cheese sticking out there, some Italian greens, some mayo, some mustard, some sun-dried tomatoes. Of course, my obsession with avocado continues. And this is it looks fire, and it was fire. And great bread. Yeah, this rosemary polenta bread is one of my favorite breads. Chunky cheese. Chunky cheese again, definitely. I love it. Air frying is so interesting because there was that like craze, like 3 years ago where I feel like everyone was getting air fryers. And then it was funny because it was like all these companies were doing really well. And then it just hit a wall where like everybody basically that wanted an air fryer had an air fryer. And I think some of these companies actually like went out of business because they just like couldn't sell any more air fryers. But yeah, you guys weren't expecting air fryer discourse today on Let's Write Scripts. But yeah, we love it. You know, we mainly use the air fryer for like meat. Oh, we also, oh no, you know, we do more things. I do actually you did it last night, did some tofu, like a barbecue tofu thing in the air fryer. I do these like roasted sweet potatoes in the air fryer. I do chicken, you know, like chicken thighs and legs in the air fryer. I do salmon in the air fryer. I like crispy foods. I just got to say, I like crispy foods, and an air fryer, I guess, you know, it's like you're not deep frying it. So it's like a little healthier, perhaps than other types of food. But yeah, there we go. That's the sandwich of the week. And if you come back, if you're new, you can expect a new delicious sandwich every week. And we save it till near the end because when I first started doing this, I showed them at the beginning, and then people were really hungry, and it was trouble writing because it's hard to sometimes to write when you're hungry. So, anyways, we save it for the end here. All right, and we are coming in here. If you need, let's see here, any other questions before we jump into the final sprint? Let me know. Broccoli and onions in the air fryer is fire. Ooh, that's interesting. I do roast broccoli, but like usually not in the air fryer. So do you do those together? Like you chop them up together as one thing, or those separate dishes? Because I like crispy onions. So Denise, I may have to look into that. And I do a lot of roast. I do a lot of roast broccoli and a lot of roast Brussels sprouts with like garbanzo beans. So I'll like do them together. I'll do like broccoli and garbanzo beans and or Brussels sprouts and garbanzo beans, because like crispy garbanzo beans it's sort of like French fries, but not as good, but healthier. So I don't know. I have relatively high cholesterol, so I have to be healthier in the choices. I'm suffering the consequences of being in my 20s of just being a single guy who like ate horribly and thought like, yeah, I'm fine. And then it turns out like eating fast food every night was a bad decision for me. So trying to be a healthy, responsible adult. Anyways, but that's enough health and diet talk here on Let's Write Scripts. We're going to go into the final writing sprint, and we are going to end. We're going to just on time. We'll do a 15-minute sprint here. And yeah, we'll end, and we'll be back next week. If you have to leave during this sprint, no worries. This is a show up when you can, leave when you gotta type of event. I'm so glad you're here. I hope you got some good writing done. I hope your creative muscles got to work out. And I always say this, but I think it really is important. If you're a writer, that like you need to write. It's a oftentimes when I find I'm in a bad mood, I realize it's like, oh, I haven't been writing recently. Sometimes I feel the same with reading. Like if I haven't been reading a good book, I'll just be like, oh, I need to read. Anyways, so we're going to do one more sprint, and we're going to be able to focus in here. If your brain's tired, try to just give it 15 more minutes. It's not 15 minutes. That's not that much. You can do it. And then, you can go and doom scroll till your little heart's content, or rot your brain with whatever your favorite form of easy entertainment is. But 15 minutes on the clock. I'm so glad y'all are here. If you stick around till the very end, we'll say our final farewells. But let's do it. I'm gonna play some music here on the screen. I'm feeling it there. And yeah, you ready? I think we're ready. 15 minutes on the clock. Here we go. And that brings us to the end of Let's Write Scripts for Wednesday, October 15th. Thank you all for being here. I hope you had some great writing done. Maybe learned some things, just enjoyed yourself. Made some progress on your script, whatever it was. I'm so glad you're here. That's it for us this week. We'll be back next week, same time, Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, on the Arc Studios Screenwriting channel at Arc Studios Screenwriting. And I look forward to seeing you all there. I hope this was your first time. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had a good time. And I love it. I love hanging out with you guys. It's one of my favorite times of the week. So that's it for now. Keep writing. Don't stop. Try to do it more than just on Wednesdays. Be kind to yourselves. And hey, Dr. Steve, I didn't see you there in the chat. I'm glad you're here. All right, everyone. Peace out. Be kind to yourselves and happy writing. And I hope to see you next week, guys. All right. Farewell.